And we are live. Have a good meeting.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon. I'm Chair Darren Green. I'd like to welcome you to the January 28th, 2021 Asheville Area River Redevelopment Commission meeting. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome our newest and councilwoman. We have Commissioner Parker Sloan, our newest Buncombe County Commissioner, as well as Councilwoman Sage Turner, representing the city of Asheville. I'd like to give, I don't believe we don't have Councilwoman Turner yet, but I'd like to give Commissioner Sloan an opportunity to introduce himself and say a quick hello.
Well, yeah. Hey, folks. Good to see you all. Sure wish we were doing this in person. I'm really excited to learn more about the history of this group and what's on your minds. I think that that survey we filled out and seeing those results was really cool and really helpful for me to help understand what we're thinking about with this commission as it moves forward. But yeah, I'm just really excited to be here and to improve our riverfront with all of you.
Well, thank you. And we'll go back to Councilwoman Turner when she logs on. Just a quick reminder that the purpose of the Asheville Area Riverfront Redevelopment Commission is to recommend to the city and county an overall policy for the continued development and sustainability of the regional riverfront. The commission provides recommendations to the city and county for effective management of the public resources for the districts and actively pursues and assists private sector investments in these districts. The commission is made up of 13 members representing the City of Asheville, the Council of Independent Business Owners, Riverlink, Asheville City Council, Buncombe County Commission, and the Town of Woodfin. Our committees consist of Planning and Design Review, Network, and River Economy. All commission members and staff are participating virtually. We appreciate your patience as we work through committee meetings a bit differently. Pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute 166A-19.24F, this will be a remote meeting which the public can access by any of the following means. We are streaming live on our Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city website and also linked to the committee page. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone by calling 855-925-2801. The meeting code number is 4602 for callers to call in and listen. Send comments by email to Riverfront Commission January 28 at publicinput.com. For those of you out there with make sure to mute your microphone if you're not speaking. When you have a question or would like to speak, unmute your microphone. Please remember to mute your phone after you are done speaking. Commission members, as I call your name, please say a quick hello. David Brown? I don't think he's present. Commissioner Sloan?
Hello. Here.
Christy Quinn?
Hello.
Buck Bragg?
Hello.
Joe Ransmeyer?
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you? Councilwoman Turner, welcome.
Hello.
Tim Schaller?
Present.
Jane Matthews?
Good afternoon, all.
Jeremy Goldstein?
Hello.
Wendy Whitson?
Hello.
Samantha Cole?
Hello.
Debbie Giesentanner? I know you're here, Debbie.
Okay. Unmute.
Oh, she's back. Debbie Giesentanner? I'm sorry, have I lost contact here?
Not Chair Green. This is Steph Munson-Dahl. Debbie, there is, if you hover your cursor over the bottom of your screen, there should be a microphone on the left that you can tap and untap to mute and unmute yourself.
Well, while we're waiting, Councilwoman Turner, I'd like you to have an opportunity to say hello and introduce yourself.
Sure. Hello, everyone, and thank you for that welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. As you know, I'm new to council and new to this commission, and I'm excited to get involved. I've been pretty involved in the city for a while, particularly around downtown. I was recently chairing our downtown commission and been on the commission for a number of years. And I think of downtown in a similar way as I think of the riverfront, you know, bustling, active, dense areas. And I look forward to getting more informed on what's been happening and what the plans are. I've been reading up and I'm just excited to be part of it. So hi, everyone.
Well, thank you. We're excited to have you as well. Did Debbie log back on, Steph?
She did. Ms. Giesentanner? Oh, there she is.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha. All right, roll call is complete. All right, to help our audience follow along, I'll state each section of the agenda aloud and do a vocal roll call for each vote. Additionally, I ask that the committee members raise their hand to speak or unmute, and I will call upon you. All right, we're going into administrative items. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes from the November meeting? Wait, I'm sorry. Yes, from the November meeting. Are there any changes or additions?
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
that.
Thank you. Now I'm going to have to go through the roll call again. And when I say your name, please say aye or nay. Aye or nay. I'm sorry, my internet is spotty, so I apologize. Did Vice Chairman Brown join? No. Okay. Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Christy Quinn?
Aye.
Buck Bragg?
Aye.
Joseph Ransmeyer?
Aye.
Councilwoman Turner?
Aye.
Tim Schaller?
Aye.
Jane Matthews?
Aye.
Jeremy Goldstein?
Aye.
Wendy Whitson?
Aye.
Samantha Cole?
Aye.
And Debbie Giesentanner?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. The minutes are approved. All right, moving on to new business. We have a design review and a consideration for a vote regarding the alignment between the Reverend Grant Southside Center expansion with design guidelines. I believe Steph or Sasha, you all are going to present the staff report.
Yes,
All right.
you all can hear me, sounds like. Yes, thank you, Chair Green. My name's Sasha Vertinsky. I'm on staff here at Planning and Urban Design. I'm just going to introduce this topic generally, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dorothea Schultz with Clark Nexon Architecture to go through the project with you. This is a design review for the Grant Center expansion. I think most of you, hopefully everyone knows the Grant Center down on Livingston Street. And that space is a city facility, as you know, and has been planned to be expanded for a number of years. And now we finally have money through our bond funding to expand it. So the overall project is expanding it with some programmables, some program space, a gymnasium, an outdoor basketball court, and then a pool and changing rooms and pool facilities, pool storage. The pool was a little bit of a later addition after our first design review committee meeting, but we shortly reviewed it at the last one last week. This is a level 1 development project, so it'll be a staff level review. So this is really the only public review that this project gets. Generally, staff believes that this is aligning with the guidelines, and we've provided our staff report, and we can, after Dorothea goes through the project, we can talk about that some more. But generally, the new buildings are working to fit in with the existing architecture. There are solar panels on the gym roof, which is very exciting. It'll be the largest solar installation on a city building. It also has additional bioswale, gardens, and other ecological features. And, they also addressed a number of the other questions that design review committee had around signage and the bridge. And there's a lot of little details there that are in the plans. Just again, the design review committee saw this last August, and then we looked at the revisions last week. So that's where we are right now. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dorothea, who will share her screen and go through the plans. Go ahead, Dorothea.
Yeah, hello everybody. I lost my mouse cursor here for a second. I apologize. So I'm Dorothea Schultz. I'm architect here for Clark Nixon. On the call is also Chad Robertson, also with Clark Nixon. And I'm here to just give you an overview what we've planned. So I will present my screen. Give me a second until I navigate there.
While Dorothea does that, I should have also shared, I believe, Pete Wall, who's with Parks and Recreation, and Dustin Clemens, who's with Capital Projects, are also on the call. Go ahead, Dorothea.
Let me see if you can see the drawings or an image of the facility. Make sure it's shared the correct screen.
We can. It's flashing a little bit. It looks like. I'm not sure why, but there you go.
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay, very good. It's just confusing. Every program works a little differently, so I want to make sure you see it. So as Sasha already explained, and I don't want to repeat too much of what she said, we're looking at the expansion of the existing Dr. Wesley Grant Senior Southside Community Center, which is the building that can be seen here in this sort of like bird's eye view on the left. And the addition that is planned is to add a large kind of a gym with one basketball court, to have an exterior basketball court kind of adjacent to it. Kind of around the corner toward the west, we would have kind of the general support spaces, bathroom, office, and so on, mechanical spaces, as well as program space for flexible programming. And also to the side is where the new outdoor pool will be planned. The pool is meant to be a community pool, so it's mainly centered around kind of multiple generation, family-friendly use. Some of the main features that the image here shows fairly well is to create kind of a very inviting and vibrant face to the community that kind of connects the multitude of uses that are happening on the site, and that also features kind of a stormwater management system that basically captures, for example, this roof runoff and creates an inviting planted bioswale with trees, with other features that we'll get into a little bit more later. As was also mentioned, part of the plan and commitment to sustainability is to incorporate a large solar array that kind of maximizes what we can fit on this roof, and we're excited about this. The different light just came on. Different kinds of review topics are what I'm going to center the presentation on, and for that reason, I will start with architectural style and materials. We heavily looked at how to integrate the new building and the extension with the existing building. So we're seeking not only in kind of general kind of massing and materiality to bring those two together so that they really create one whole, and that there is not as much distinction between original and new. We're matching brick. We're using metal wall panel, which also fits kind of into both of the materials really fit into kind of wider river arts district materiality and kind of slight industrial character as well as historic characters. We're matching materials such as window mullions, and then when it comes to certain kind of accents such as this, we have one feature element, which is in order to have visibility into the neighborhood, we're looking to have a glazed surface here to the south, but for not only glare, but also for sustainability, we're shading this with a decorative louvered sunscreen. There's kind of an example here of like a typical kind of louvered sunscreen here. We can optimize shading. The site plan is fairly simple in the sense that most of the front kind of face, the parking lot stays close to where it is right now. We were working to incorporate additional parking spots so that we have, the desired capacity and also required capacity for the facility for the additional uses. So we're adding some parking spaces to the existing. All of the existing features, the prominent stormwater swale that treats the runoff from the existing building will remain. And then, as I mentioned before, we have these kind of feature areas in the front. The landscape plan shows this fairly well. And also the image that I was showing before. But the idea is to have the stormwater get channeled through these series of stormwater swales, and then actually to tie it into the existing stormwater swales here as well. From a planting standpoint, we leaned on the recommendations for planting for the district. We've also incorporated some edible plants such as service berries and I think blueberry bushes at this point that kind of tie into sustainability and community goals for the city to have those kinds of features. We're also looking at some kind of berms and hills, kind of in the sense of providing both a little bit of differentiation, but also availability for some seating at the court. The entrance situation would get slightly adjusted to where existing entrance, which remains the same as it is currently, would kind of have a more distinct wayfinding through a new kind of sidewalk. The current sidewalk kind of comes around the side here. And then to connect with a series of paths to other activity areas and to also the sidewalks and neighborhood at large. There's also sidewalks generally tying the building together kind of around egress doors. And then of course, the pool area is more off on its own. Partly this is due to requirements for pools to be fenced in order to be secure and to be kind of like their own areas. Let's see if there was something else. Yes, I think some of the elements that are interesting for the site review is also lighting. So we just kind of showed on this feature the types of lighting that we're seeking to incorporate. The outdoor court as well as the pool would have pole-mounted LED light or also building-mounted LED downlights that are designed to just kind of achieve levels that allow, use of these areas kind of once the sun goes down. There's some lighting, bollard lighting along the main pathways to be incorporated just to kind of light those areas and make them more friendly during the night and also more safe. And then for any other building lighting that's for egress or for just general kind of area illumination along these egress paths, we have simple wall sconces that would be placed around the building. If I missed anything, there's a few kind of smaller features here that were mentioned. There's a small kind of bridge that bridges this storm swale. It's a little bit hard to see here. We try to get it in. There's a bit of a seating element that we're looking at, and then also potentially some kind of new signage right at the entrance door that might also include some wayfinding in order to get to the different uses on site. I think that's all. If you have questions, if I missed something or there's something in particular of interest, we have more drawings and more material, and I'm happy to navigate there and explain you more.
Thank you, Dorothea. I will open it up for questions, and if you all would like to raise your hand or unmute, I can call on you.
Chair Green, I do think
Yes.
that it's been a while since we've had one of these, but I do think normally after the designer presents that maybe the committee chair, Jane Matthews, could, summarize the discussion or just talk about it generally.
Sure. Jane, would you like to present?
I can briefly. We did not have a formal review of this project. We had an informal review. And like I say, we did see an earlier project which was much smaller in scale, and we at the time reviewed it and had comments related to some particular things, handrails, lighting, things like that, some of which has been addressed in this. And as staff presented to the committee, we had questions that were, some of which were addressed, I appreciate it, by Dorothea, I assume, back to us. In regards particularly to the parking lot consideration and the wall that was shown on the floor plan, on the ground plans, or that were around the outdoor basketball court, and those seem to have gone away. So that I think was just an error, a graphic error. I'm trying to think what else. I know from my perspective, I still have concerns about drainage. There is, and it shows up, I think, Dorothea, on your site plan. There was an existing vegetative swale that ran. Now it goes under the pool. The dotted line that's shown, and I can't read your drawing, so but I'm concerned about that, and as to what happens with the vegetative swale and the water that was conducted into that originally. But I think, other than that, I think they've, and there were some concerns about landscaping around both the species selection of the trees in conjunction with the Riverfront District, where the landscaping was in terms of parking and on the pool side of the facility. And, Dorothea, and again, I apologize, Dorothea, I don't know if it was you personally that wrote the responses or someone else, but the responses that came, there are some species listed, and then some justification in the designer's mind as to why the landscape was not added in those areas that were expressed, some concern. So I don't know if that helps, and that's, I think, a general review. And again, we did not have a formal review. We had an informal review of the project. Came late, and we had little time. So
Okay. Dorothea, did you want to touch on anything that Jane?
Yeah, I gladly. Yeah, so thank you, Jane, for the comments and feedback. For the swale here, we fully understand that we're basically creating changes here, and I also apologize. You know, we're not showing you the final drawings here because, as was mentioned, the pool was kind of a fairly late addition, and this project is also still in progress. So the site plan kind of captures general ideas, but there is still some work that we're working on as we speak to just kind of make sure we capture those. Yes, the pool goes over the existing swale, and we're basically working to capture all of the runoff that would have previously gone into that swale and kind of redirect it. We're also looking to establish a new swale that basically captures also the additional runoff as well as some of the existing building kind of toward the low point of the site here, possibly also over here. So there's like a few things in flux between utilities and stormwater, but we're working to resolve those. And you know, the addition of the pool here, unfortunately, necessitates some changes, but we're confident that we can resolve all of this and create a good design. For the landscaping, I know some specific species were mentioned. I know that the landscape architects have worked to select species that are basically, for the one, like a part of the species that you would like to see in this area, but also that can deal with these fairly varying conditions of soils, water, different kind of like high water, low water conditions. And we're taking all of the comments in consideration to fulfill them as good as we can for the design. I don't have the final selection today since we just got those comments, but we're working to address all of those. And for the pool side, planting based on what we understand how typically Parks and Rec pools have certain needs for kind of transparency to the neighborhoods or to the Dental Parks area. We are not planning on any kind of screening or planting here, but to kind of leave that open. That being said, the swale that will happen at the back here might kind of move a little bit closer. We're seeking to kind of integrate that a little bit more. I hope that answers these questions. Those are the ones that I wrote down, unless there was something I missed.
Thank you. Joe, you had a question.
Yes, Dorothea. When we did look at the preliminary plans, the outdoor basketball court was proposed to have a roof over it, and I see you've taken that off. I had a question about some sort of screen or fence that would catch, runaway basketballs without having to go all the way across the yard to retrieve them, or into the pond on the other side. Is there anything like that planned?
So let me go to the image here because it might kind of show things best. So the court is generally moved toward the back of the court, just to kind of not come as far to the front here. There is a pavilion that also kind of acts a little bit as a backstop for kind of runaway balls. Mm-hmm. In the planting plan, so maybe up front, before I kind of go into too many details, actually, we're trying to stay away from fencing or from around this basketball area, but to rather have it really be very open and inviting to the community. And then we feel confident that between, veranda, every once in a while, I'm sure a ball might fall over here, but it feels, due to the distances and the little bit of berms we have on the side, the plantings we have, that we can kind of capture most of those occurrences kind of as they come through, and to have features like this also kind of put a little bit of a stop to that, to kind of balance, I guess, the need for openness to the community, especially on this front edge, with the use that will have a little bit of a activity there, and or not a little bit, but it'll have activity, and there will be some balls, I'm sure.
Well, it may be one of those things that
Any other questions?
it may be one of those things that if it is a problem, something will have to be added later.
I had a quick question. I guess, first of all, I think it's outstanding that the basketball court's open like that and inviting. That's great. That's fantastic. I guess maybe going back to your overhead view, help me understand what's planned for the square footage in between the gymnasium and the pool for that. Yeah, what's planned for that area?
This area here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the gymnasium is here. The outside court is not shown on this particular drawing, but I'm just using the floor plan so that you can see more so what's planned. It's mainly kind of support spaces here. So there's pool equipment, bathrooms, an office, some storage, as well as, mechanical room, IT room, those kinds of like miscellaneous items. And then up here at the north, we have a program space, which is the volume. I can kind of show you also from outside. It's a little bit easier to see from this side, for example. It's kind of like a more like standalone volume, which houses, it's like programmable space and has a divider in it, and different kind of community uses could be housed in there. And then of course this area here also becomes kind of the face of the pool. So there's some changing rooms, there's the entrance into the bathrooms and so on. And that's kind of how this side sort of plays out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
Were there any other questions? I had a question, but I'd like to give the other commissioners an opportunity to ask. I'll go ahead and ask. Dorothea, what was the process for community engagement? Was your firm charged with that scope?
So we were not as much charged with it with a particular scope. And I don't know if maybe somebody else like Pete or wants to kind of jump in on that. I can kind of give you. There was a community engagement process kind of before we started, where there had been extensive meetings with the community to establish what their needs were for the site. And kind of earlier on, we were working on kind of general options, understanding how a majority of those users could be housed on site. And I think there has been some further reach out to the Parks Department, to the community, but the details I would like to refer to maybe Pete or somebody from the Parks Department to.
Sure, I can jump in. Hey everybody, I'm Pete Wall, the Parks Department. So yeah, we had this project's been in the making for over a decade now, but the most recent kickoff of engagement around this project was related to the bond program. And so this project went through public engagement related to the bond referendum that happened in 2016. And then following that, there was a number of community engagement opportunities around the programming of the site that Dorothea alluded to. And then following that, when we moved into design of the project, the Parks Department worked with several focus groups in the neighborhood, both historic groups like neighborhood stakeholders, if you will, and then also a youth stakeholder group that was related to youth programming in the building when it's built and that sort of thing. And that was right on the heels of COVID. And so that led us up to the point of where we had the illustrative plan. And that was vetted by those community groups. And subsequent to that, there's been a few personal outreach opportunities for the project, one-on-one opportunities that the city has done with community residents, and that leads us up to today.
So the community members have seen these latest drawings and iterations?
Yes, these have been made available to the community.
Okay. Can you give us some sort of a sense of how they feel about the project overall? What kind of comments have you received?
So yeah, generally, like I was saying, this project's been in the making for over 10 years. And so generally there's a favorable perception in the community for the project. And that's how we got the referendum vote for the $4 million to move forward with the project. And so I would use that as an answer to your question. The bond passed overwhelmingly in support of the project. And this was one of the bond projects that was associated with that.
No, the Parks Department's charged with programming of this space.
That's correct. Yep. We currently staff the existing building and run all the community programming that goes on in there today, which includes some of the pods that we're working with Asheville City Schools on right now. And obviously this building addition and aquatics addition will allow us to expand that community programming for the neighborhood.
Great. Well, it looks like a wonderful addition to the neighborhood, and it's really a bridge between the River Arts District and the Southside community. So I for one am excited to see these renderings and see this fruition. So I think a great job from the architecture firm, from all the hard work that you all have put into it, engaging with the community. And I know as a commission, we certainly look forward to watching this progress. Do we have any other comments or questions out there before we move on?
I'd like to make a few. This is Sage. So, this is my first meeting. I've just got these documents yesterday. I did not know about this project. A little embarrassed to say, but also that means that I am just like 10 times more excited because this is the first time I've seen it. So I think it's a great project. Design-wise, I appreciate the careful walkthrough. I actually felt really caught up just in that detail. I did want to know little things. Is any of the landscaping edible? I couldn't get through all the documents fast enough to find out. Was there some edible landscaping going on?
Yes, there's some edible. We have, I think, service berries and blueberries at this point. There was some concern to add other items such as, I think, persimmons. Might have had something else that escapes my mind right now. Just because it is kind of so close to the front and to the parking lot, in order to not have also kind of maintenance issue possibly. So we're kind of like focusing on the smaller ones. But yes, we're incorporating some edibles into this.
That's great. I love all of the green touch points too, and the stormwater and bioswales. It's all wonderful. It's almost idealistic. So I'm thrilled to hear it's even a bond project. I'm sorry I don't know all this, but I think it's wonderful. I was excited about the programmable space. I heard mention of pods because it sounds like there is already some pods set up here. So this actually might help that if that's the direction we go. That's wonderful. I did kind of wonder, and this is programmatic, not design, but are there food opportunities happening here? We've got children playing sports. We've got children swimming. Are there food things going to happen? Are they going to be able to eat? Programmatic,
So
not design. I'm wondering.
Yeah, so we do have we do have not a lunch program. I wouldn't call it a lunch program, but for our participants, we do have an opportunity for a room, but we don't prepare food in the centers.
Yeah, interesting. Well, and it looked like I was kind of looking at the parcel, and looks like there's still some open space and more room to grow should this community hub become even bigger one day. So I appreciate everybody's work on it. It looks like a wonderful addition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions before we move on to Trucker's Place?
Chairman Green, I just would like to say that I think I've seen the plans in the lobby of the Green Center for a Grant Center for a long time. So it's great to see something actually coming from that. So thank you.
At Commission Green, we're asking for a vote on this project.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I'd like to ask one more question, just because I'm new and I don't have the background. So this must be tied to why the Walton Pool is being closed. And we talked a little bit about community opportunity. It sounded like this is the last review for this project. Has the community weighed in on the Walton pool closing and this being the pool instead?
Yeah, so we took this to council in November to add the pool to this project scope. And at that time, staff did targeted outreach due to COVID to community stakeholders about that decision. And then our Office of Equity and Inclusion and our Cape office are working with a neighborhood group to do additional outreach regarding specifics on the Walton Street Park site. And that focuses around recognizing the history of the park and developing what the community's vision for improvements in that park space will be. And so that's a separate process that's going to move forward aside from this project.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate catching me up that way.
Yeah.
So Pete, is the Walton Street pool currently closed and planned to be permanently closed, or is, I'm hearing you say it's in under consideration?
Right. So we did make improvements last summer, right before COVID. That was in March. We made some improvements to try to get that pool open. It is it's been past its useful life for quite some time now. And so there's no plans for the Parks Department to close that pool until there's an operable pool at the Grant Center. We will probably anticipate some more repairs and sort of Band-Aid approach to the next 2 seasons while we get through this project. But yeah, we plan on opening that pool this summer along with our other 2 pools this summer. We're working on that plan right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Jane, as the chair of the Design and Review Committee, would you like to make the motion? There's a copy of one on the copy of the staff report at the bottom of the page.
I actually would not. Thank you.
So
You would not like to? Okay.
I do have a
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Usually when something comes to us like this, it has gone with there's usually a recommendation from the review committee. So I'm wondering why this seems to have come through a different way. Just having trouble understanding that.
Mr. Schaller, I can address that just briefly, and Jane may want to chime in, but this project actually was voted on back in August as a complete project with some remaining questions, and it was voted on favorably, 3-0. The subsequent revisions addressed those questions, but the big addition was the pool. So the pool, at our last meeting, we really didn't have time for a vote. And so I think that's why Ms. Matthews is talking about it's not as formal. So I guess that's where we are today.
I would just add, it came to us very late, Tim. It didn't allow us time for any kind of formal review. We also had another project on the docket that day already. So we did not have a formal review. And it was more than just the pool. There were site changes as well. So,
Jane, are you saying you are not in a position where you're ready to make a vote?
I would prefer that you make the motion because
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Jane, are we the only 2 people here from that design review subcommittee meeting?
No, I was there myself.
So my sense of the consensus of that meeting, taking Jane's concerns in hand, was that no one seemed to think, maybe except for Jane, but maybe not, that there was no basis to approve, there wasn't a basis to disapprove this at this point. There were some questions and some of which were answered, but my sense from everybody there was that, it was a project they would still support. So in that regard, I would make a motion to approve. I move to recommend approval of the Grant Center expansion project as presented based on the site plans, elevations, and materials submitted and discussions heard during this review, and find that the project meets the intent of the River District Design Review guidelines.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I'll go through the list of commissioners and we'll take a vote. Vice Chairman David Brown. How do you vote?
Did you mention my name?
Yes,
I'm
we're
having
voting
trouble.
on this.
Yes.
Okay,
Vote in favor.
thank you. You have your hand up. I'm sorry, I just noticed that. Do you have something you'd like to add?
No, I just think it's a fabulous project for that area, and I'm totally in favor of it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Sloan? How do you
Aye.
vote? Christy Quinn?
Yes.
Buck Bragg?
Yes.
Joseph Ransmeyer?
Yes, in favor.
Councilwoman Turner?
Aye.
Tim Scheller?
Aye.
Jane Matthews?
No.
Jeremy Goldstein?
Aye.
Wendy Whitson?
Yes, it's wonderful.
Samantha Cole?
Aye.
Debbie Giesenthaler?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. That's 11 ayes and 1 nay. All right. Now we're going to move on to the update on Trucker's Place on Swananoa River Road. Steph, who will be giving that? Is that you, Sasha?
Sure, I can do that really quickly. And I don't have a formal update for you all. The committee spent about an hour and a half in our last meeting discussing a project at 17 Truckers Place. It is the parcel that's vacant right now across from Aldi's, across Swananoa River Road from the Walmart Center, but across the smaller street, Truckers Place from Aldi's. The committee had a great discussion and really kind of got into the core issues of that site. It is in the floodplain and they have to elevate. And I've let the committee know that there was discussion about the orientation of the building and the materials. And they were proposing a long building with very little detail, just all metal paneling along Swananoa River Road. And I think they're looking at turning it so the front doors facing Swananoa River Road. But I did notice on the last site plan, I saw that they've got some issues they need to go through with staff. It's a level 1 project, and they've got a couple big barriers. They've got an MSD easement in the front and power lines. So I think they're going to start their level 1 process and work some of those details out, and then either come back to the committee or correspond with the committee in some way. So they did not receive a vote because it really wasn't ready to be voted on. And that's my update.
Thank you. Jane, as head of that committee, would you like to make any comments?
Sure. The applicant was really receptive to a lot of review by the committee that made some suggestions on orientation. And as Sasha pointed out, what they came to the committee with was a building that was basically a blank wall with utilities and an exit door facing Swananoa River Road, and the entrance kind of very back in the site. So, suggestions were made in realizing some of their limitations and some of their challenges. And they had actually previously looked at a scheme that oriented the building, as Sasha said, with the front facing Swananoa. So they were going to go back and look at that. They do have, as Sasha pointed out, some challenges with landscaping and buffering with MSD lines that run close to the property line. But I think those are things that they can, get not variance for, but alternative compliance for some of the landscaping. But they were making some concessions. They came with a pretty much standard developer prototype building that is in every city across the U.S., but they were looking at taking the best part of that and giving it to the street, which I think will help a lot for compliance. Appreciated their willingness to work with us, and appreciated the comments that came from the committee. So.
Good, thank you. Were there any questions or comment before we move on to our next point, our next discussion? All right, we're going to move on. So I hope everyone had an opportunity to read through the survey results that we did internally on our commission. Did everyone have an opportunity to glance through those? So what I did, I actually went through and kind of picked out some of what I thought were some key observations. But before I kind of go through those, I'd like to turn to Councilwoman Turner, and hopefully you had an opportunity to read through these. And my question to you is, how do these priorities align with City Council's anticipated priorities? I know that you haven't had your full, I guess, strategic planning meeting yet, but can you give us some insight and some input as to how you see these kind of connecting with one another?
I can sure try, and I'm happy to report that when I took the survey, I was in that same group of the design guidelines being updated as a #1 priority. And having come from the Downtown Commission, where we also agreed that was a priority, I will be recommending this to council. Now, I will say we have not gone through our retreat. We have not done our strategic planning or budgeting process for the year. So me saying that is just me showing up saying this is what I'd like to see us do. There's a whole lot of process left to happen to determine priorities. But I do sense that this is a common theme, whether it be the UDO, the downtown, the riverfront, the hotel moratorium. There's a larger design review and updating of ordinances that is, I'd say, surfacing and has been known for some years. And had we not hit or encountered this awful pandemic and hit the economic times that we had, it probably would be near the top of the list. So, you know, we all need to check in on where that's at. Now, looking at the other priorities, I mean, it almost looks like, let's see, the economic value had some strength behind it, but a lot of them were equally split. You know, I didn't gain from the comprehensive plan one. It was all kind of, yeah, it's just a goal. The improvements to stormwater, everybody's goal, but it didn't make sense from this, you know, how those were ranked. So maybe the commission could fill me in a little bit more. We could come up with a collective, you know, this is, you know, maybe what some narrative around this, I guess, would be more helpful. And I would share that with council. But, you know, I think all eyes on the river right now. It's one of the reasons I wanted to get involved. I think after the success of Radship, the new Greenway opening, all of the wonderful projects happening, I think we're going to see a lot of activity in the next several years down there, particularly once Rad Loft kicks off. And, you know, so I think we should, you know, I'm new here and you're probably very organized and have all your goals, but I want to say, let's get collective and loud about it, because what we do now and plan ahead is going to determine decades of what this riverfront looks like.
Thank you. We agree. We're ready to get loud too. So some of the observations that I kind of pulled out. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm having a terrible internet. We'll keep going. Some of the key observations that I noticed, and I'll go through the following. So like Councilwoman Turner suggested, over 75% of the commission still views securing funds to update the design guidelines as a top 1 and 2 priority. The other point I noticed was, likely due to the impact of COVID and the completion of the rad tip, the priority of the transportation and mobility is considered a 2-3 priority by about 50% of the commission, and a level 6 priority by 25% of the commission. Advocacy for improvements to stormwater Water quality and flood impacts are nearly split evenly as a priority by the commission, with about 25% of the group signaling this is a number one priority. I think this is likely due to the commission, to other commissions like SACE and the Soil Erosion and Stormwater Review Commissions that are already charged with this issue. I think that our commission can certainly lend advocacy to those goals. The question of which of city council goals to better align with, the subject that kept coming up was equity and inclusion initiatives for the businesses, artists, community, and surrounding underserved neighborhoods. Under the 3 new ideas, reviewing the effects of the pandemic and how to best adapt, advocating for the implementation of some of the recommended improvements from the RAD watershed study completed by Riverlink, so that speaks to water quality, and support for the artists and other equitable initiatives were some of the 3 of the kind of the new ideas that kept showing up from our commission. On the question of what city or county boards and commissions to collaborate with, the Downtown Commission was pretty consistent, the Greenway Commission, and the Multimodal Commission. And policies to share with the city or county over the next 18 months, redevelopment of city-owned property, public art, and design guidelines were the top 3 most recognized answers from our group. Now I'm going to throw it out there to the rest of the commission to make any other observations or inputs on this priority, on these priorities.
Darren, I don't know that I wanted to go first, but I did want to mention a couple things about sedimentation erosion control and construction related regulations. It's kind of the purview of county government in this area. And I think I put that down as number 1, just because that's where my head's at on the survey, at least. One thing we're looking at, we're in the early stages with at the county, at the staff level now, is to possibly create a French Broad cleanup task force that would be a temporary committee that looks at runoff issues, sediment and erosion control related to construction activities, as well as runoff from septic and sewer and agricultural operations to try to get E. coli out of the river and out of the newspaper. And so we're looking to put together a committee to review all of those challenges and provide back with recommendations to city council and the county commission. And I'm realizing here in the moment, maybe that's something we bring back to this group as well. But that's something I'm excited to work on and to push forward, and would love all of your feedback on that as well, if and when that committee gets formed. So
yes, thank you. Yes, please keep us informed, and I'm sure there'd be 1 or 2 commissioners who would be willing to step in and sit on that in the ad hoc committee if you're opening it up to others. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll put my hand up on that. I'm no longer on a committee that's AARC, and that's something that's been important to me for quite a few years. I've been vocal about it, so I'm available for that.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim.
So I know Sage and Jane both raised your hands. And David Brown, I don't know if you raised it recently or it's still up, but why don't we start with Sage and then we'll go Jane and David. Sage.
Sage, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I was also muted on my phone. Commissioner Sloan, that's exciting to hear, and I think it's a benefit of this commission that you have such widespread engagement across different governments, because the city also recently approved the idea of a stormwater task force that you may want to join forces with, or maybe more of a collective, and maybe someone from this commission also on there. But Yeah, that's interesting and hopeful, and maybe you could talk about it with large buildings and other UDO changes out there in the county.
This is Jane Matthews. I wanted to comment on what Parker also said. And I think it's really important, that when we look at the design guidelines, that we integrate into the design guidelines the issues of stormwater control that can be managed on site better and maybe more environmentally stewardship-wise. And I think that, that can be done, through a design guideline parameter that we don't currently have, that would strengthen, I think, the environmental treatment of water that moves off to the river. So thank you, Parker. I appreciate your comments.
Thanks, Jane. David, did you have a comment?
No, sir, I did not raise my hand.
Okay. Are there any other commissioners that would like to make any comments or have questions about our priorities? All right. Then we will move on. I know that David, Chairman or Vice Chairman Brown, myself, and staff will be working on an updated 2021 priorities to submit to City Council. So that will be happening in the next few weeks. Steph, we were going to go into next just confirming who was on what committee.
Yeah, that's right. As Tim Schaller said, we dissolved one committee last year. So now you have remaining the executive committee and the networking committee and the planning and design review committee. So we wanted to just check in, since we've had some turnover here, to see who today can tell us that they are not assigned to one of those committees.
Sure.
Tim, Parker, Sage, and Buck.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Tim, Parker, Sage, Buck, Debbie. Anybody else? And we do, just as a reminder, we do still have a vacancy open for the expired seat for Carlton Collins, and council will be making an appointment at first meeting in February, perhaps, maybe second. Okay, so thanks for that. I know that David and Darren will talk to all of you about what the committee work plan might look like this year. We're going to try to heavily align committee work plans with the priorities that you've discussed today and through this survey, and make sure that everybody has something to contribute to and or learn from and participate in. Any questions about that for staff or David or Darren? Thank you.
Thanks, Steph. I've turned my camera off. My signal is so poor, so I'm trying to hold on here. Let's get into city staff updates.
Sure, I'll do some staff updates. Let me start with the noise ordinance. I just wanted to let folks know that, actually I need to get an update on this myself. So I know that the Public Safety Committee of City Council met the other day with staff and probably provided some feedback to them, but the staff's current intention was to hold off on implementing any changes to the noise ordinance till the end of the year. So while we may have a public hearing, say in March, which will give us more time to talk to a variety of different stakeholders that may or may not have participated in the last couple of years with the noise ordinance. Holding it off till the end of the year will give a lot of businesses who are concerned about the impacts of the noise ordinance to them time to think through the implications and work with the city on that. So, and I think it was interesting this morning, I was at a WABA meeting, West Asheville Business Association, and it was asked why why are there changes being made? And, for your information, it is probably the area we get the most complaints about in the city. So it's a huge concern for lots of times residential neighborhoods and residential neighbors. So something that we've been working on for a while. RadTip is closing up, and as we mentioned, we're going to be having a grand opening. You all should have received an email from me today or yesterday, they're all blending together, about the 1 month long celebration that we're going to have, COVID safe, crowdsourcing some content. A lot of it will be video and self-guided. It's going to be a super fun time where we get to celebrate everything that the community's done really in the past 10 years that's culminated with the completion of this project. And so we've got some great partners on board already, like Asheville on Bikes. We're talking to Greenworks and for the Wilma Dykeman legacy, because of course we're tying this into Wilma Dykeman's 101st birthday, and we'll be working with plenty of others. But my invite to you is, do you or your organization want to be involved somehow? Would you like to celebrate all that has happened? Contact me and we can figure out a way for you to do that. So we're getting real creative, and I'll give you a sneak peek. So we're going to be crowdsourcing a RadTip playlist so that everybody, when they're walking on the Greenway, they can put on some tunes, and I'm sure Take Me to the River, probably both versions, maybe 3 versions, will be on there. So, you got ideas, come to me for that. And okay, hotel moratorium, I have a big update for you. That is that, as you know, the Planning and Zoning Commission is going to be having a public hearing on the hotel development project on Wednesday night. The meeting is at 5 p.m. Any of the staff report materials probably should be up tomorrow afternoon on Planning and Zoning's website. That's not part of the city's website. You all should know where to find the map, but I'm looking and I'm like, we do have some new people. I know Sage will know, Parker, you might not know, where to find the map that shows you if it's small hotels or large hotels allowed, or and also the public benefits table, which a developer will have to try to meet a certain point requirement. They can do so through affordable housing and sustainability and public art and all kinds of wonderful things. They also can lose points if they displace businesses or demolish historic buildings. So all of those things are available to you, and I want you to know how to access them and not have to search through all your emails. So just drop me a line if you want to see that. But the big update is really that staff has been noodling really hard on the input that we've got from the Downtown Commission and from you all to come up with a way that we can satisfy the desire by the community at large that we have some design processes for these hotels no matter where they are at, and also make sure that we kind of hold on to some of the integrity of downtown and the river and the interests, thank you, Sage, the interests that are going on there. And what we have landed on is a recommendation to Planning and Zoning and to City Council at this point is that we would like for all hotels to be reviewed by a joint committee of the Downtown Design Review Committee and the Riverfront Design Review Committee. We would like not only that committee reviews all hotels, but that they review all projects. So what this would be, what this would look like is that you maintain your full commissions, and the full commissions are going to review projects. So say there's a hotel in the riverfront, you'll see that first before it goes to design review. And you'll get a staff review, and you'll be able to have conversations about anything, the economic impact of that hotel, parking issues, design issues. And staff is going to collect all of those comments, and those comments are going to go throughout the process, but also more importantly to this joint design review committee, who will be in charge of reviewing and voting on those designs. So I don't want to get into too many details because we probably don't have time, and I didn't give you any information to discuss ahead of time because this is brand new. But I think it's important that you know and have the opportunity before planning and zoning on Wednesday night to think about this. So we're going to send you some slides that outline what the previous process for design review was, and then outline what the changes are. You have a lot of control, and that's one point I want to make here, is that the Riverfront Commission will be in charge of picking 4 members, and they can be members from the commission or they can be members from the public, and that is up to you all to put on this joint design review committee. Downtown would have that same ability, and then that design review committee gets to pick together the 9th member. Okay, so so I think it's between, I'm trying to see if I have any good points. So you get to do the input in advance and see the project and talk about it in any way you want. You get to appoint the people that are on that design review committee. And then I think one of the other benefits, I was thinking about it, is that you were all talking and you mentioned how collaborating with the Downtown Commission was a priority, and how 2 years ago we went on a joint retreat with the Downtown Commission to Atlanta and how cool that was. So it is going to help us start to think about how these social justice issues, economic issues, and environmental issues tie together. So stormwater, every stream that goes to the River Arts District starts in downtown. So does anybody, I saw some hand, it says unknown, so I'm not sure who unknown is because there's also no face.
That's me.
Yeah,
That's
Jane.
me.
Hi, Jane.
So Stephanie, can you explain, this sounds like your original proposal for a joint commission, or I'm using the term wrong, joint committee, design, like an urban design review committee. And that was, I thought, pretty heavily negated by this commission, that we talked about it and we felt like we should keep it a riverfront commission. But it sounds like you've gone right back to what you originally brought to us months ago. Is that correct?
I can't tell you if it sounds like that to you. It's not what it sounds like to me. What I'd say to you is that we are trying to, what I said is maintain the integrity of keeping both of the commissions and allowing you to have control about how that design review is performed in a little bit of a different manner. So it definitely has some of the same aspects of the original proposal that we have, but we have adjusted it so that it also includes some of the comments that we heard both from the Downtown Commission and from the public and from the Riverfront Commission, which were not all the same. We did note that that there was a concern. The biggest concern that we heard was that this commission wanted to be able to review projects. They did not want to let go of the ability to review projects. And so our major adjustment is to make sure that you all have that ability to review projects and provide any comment that you want and have that carry forth throughout the reviewing bodies at the beginning of the process, which was not a part of the original proposal.
But what I'm hearing you say, we were pretty clear about that the priorities of the commission were embedded in the design review. And now this new committee has to be embedded in both commissions, in a sense, in terms of their priorities and design, which are radically different. They have similarities, and they've been pointed out. There are some similarities. It is a growing development community in both areas, but they are different, in my opinion, as an architect. Different design standards, different design guidelines, and maybe different ultimate goals in terms of what the community needs versus riverfront versus downtown. So to me, they aren't the same. You're just lumping two design entities into one to do both work, is what it sounds like.
Well, what we really hope is, just as if in the riverfront, when you review Trucker's Place and you have to look at a design that is for a more industrial, or modern industrial area. And you have to consider the needs of that community, which is out on Swananoa River Road, versus looking at the historic core of the River Arts District and the traditional brick buildings, multiple stories, that this joint design review committee is able to consider all of the different design needs for different areas, and that is part of the skill set of the folks that are on this group. There are other questions, Sage?
I was just going to share, this in my update, so I'll just do it now. Jane, the same concern came from the Downtown Commission, and there, how we were addressing it, because the Downtown Commission was reviewing more projects, I think, and more impactful projects. And, we got involved in all these hotels and things. And what we ended up doing was trying to separate within the commission itself a design review process and a impact review process. So we'd have two agenda items. One would be the design review, we'd carry it out, we'd vote, and then we'd talk about impacts. And we were always a voluntary compliance board. So whether we voted down a project or not, it got to continue moving. So one of the things I'm seeing could happen here is that the design review bodies can become experts in the ordinances that we craft and change and hopefully completely update this year. But then and my understanding is that the Downtown Commission, and assuming the Riverfront, would still hear those projects and give that input. And Stephanie, correct me if I am wrong about that, but I did have an update today that said the Downtown Commission would continue to review the projects. It just wouldn't be the final say on design approval. And part of that was linked to, because y'all are a district, the downtown is a district, but hotels can be outside our districts. So there has to be a formal body that votes on them, and they become regulatory in that way. So I don't think the Riverfront loses its entire ability to review projects, right?
Well, to me, it seems like, if hotels were the issue driving this, then it seemed to me that it would make some sense if they're in hotels in both communities to have a joint committee to review hotels. But what you have expanded it to is everything, which doesn't, to me, make any sense. But hotels, yes, I could see that would be a beneficial maybe to have both minds. If you need a central core, you have two groups of people who are embedded in thinking through design principles. Now you have different kinds of hotels in different places. A downtown hotel may be different than something that shows up in the river, that shows up in Tunnel Road. But it still would be beneficial to have the design minds together working on those, if indeed that is what's come out of the one-year moratorium. But to take it farther into everything just seems kind of beyond the pale to me. But that's my opinion.
I appreciate that input, and I would welcome any of you. I made this invitation to the Downtown Commission today as well to reach out to me about this particular issue, because you will hear in my update that it is coming very soon. P&Z will hear it on the 3rd. They will vote 2 days later on the 5th. Then council will hear it on the 9th, and then we will vote. Due to COVID terms, we have a delay in voting, so we will vote on the 23rd, but there will be no more hearing that day. So the hearing is the 9th, we'll vote on the 23rd, and that's the day the moratorium expires. So if you have thoughts on this, please do reach out to me. I will advocate for these review bodies. As a Downtown Commissioner, I felt that it was depowering us, and I was concerned as well, and I'm happy to convey that message to council.
If there are other questions, Joe, before I move on to other updates?
My question was, Jane touched on it, was whether this was just for the hotel issue or was it for all design review issues? And it seems like you are proposing it would be for all of the design review issues or projects that come up.
Yep, it is.
I kind of echo some other comments in that, both the Downtown Commission and the Riverfront Commission both were opposed to this. We said, no, we don't like this idea. And yet you went right ahead. I mean, you didn't listen to us in this way. I just want to go on record to say that I feel like you had this idea and we're going to move ahead with it no matter what we wanted.
Are there other questions about this? Okay, and I don't have any other updates, Chair Green.
Thank you, Steph.
Thanks.
All right. We're going to move on to the county staff updates. Peyton, are you available?
Hey, everybody.
Hey
So
there.
the biggest projects to update you on the moment are our two major greenway projects, the Inca Heritage Trail, that's part of the Inca Recreation Destination Project. That is moving along. We're waiting for an approval, or we were waiting for an approval that I believe was made by City Council on Tuesday night for a project near the Greenway. That'll allow us to sign the easements that we need to begin the process of design for that. We've got our preliminary feasibility work done. We're looking to move to construction drawings over the next few months. In conjunction with that project, we are moving forward with the design for the turfing at the Buncombe County Sports Park. And those facilities, we anticipate having finalized designs within the next 30 days. And then we'll be going through value engineering on that to see where we align on cost. With the Woodfin project, the Greenway, we're working to work through NCDOT's new contracting procedures or new price list for our design on that project. So as we continue to move through that process, we're hoping to actually move toward a more rapid continuation of that design in the next month or two. So with that, I can entertain any questions anybody has.
Any questions for Peyton?
No, but thank you, Peyton.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Peyton.
Thanks, Peyton.
Alrighty, we're gonna go next to any other committee updates. Christy, as the chair of the networking committee, what do you have to tell us today?
Well, I'm not getting out talking to anybody, but crime is an issue. I was kind of surprised to see that that was not a higher priority, but I guess we'll deal with that as time goes on. And that's kind of it. Things are closed down for now, but the Greenway is extremely active and everybody seems to be getting out and using it when they can, and we'll just see what happens. But I think that we do have some issues down there still to deal with crime and just making sure that the trash cans and all the things that people need are down there. But otherwise, all good for now. Very quiet. And I do think that the Stormwater Task Force is a huge priority, and we've talked about that because, of course, you know, my street gets closed all the time, and I think the more that we can work together on that and clear that stuff up, we don't need to create something new. It's already in place. We just need to kind of go back to that stuff. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy. Jane, would you like to provide any updates or input from the design review?
No, I think we've taken up most of the meeting tonight. I mean, we've covered the things that we've met about, and you know, I think we, you know, I appreciate, you know, knowing that we might have Sage as an advocate for us in terms of getting some professional guidelines development for this this committee. I think it would be a great help, not only to us, but to protecting what the city has invested in terms of millions of dollars along the riverfront. I think that's always been our goal, is to make sure that that investment is reinforced by quality development that serves back the community at all levels. So thank you, Sage. I appreciate you helping us on that.
Thanks, Jane. And I would like to ask for an update from our city councilwoman.
Sure. So we've been touching on a few. I mentioned the stormwater task force that y'all should probably connect with. I know Stacy is undertaking some new kind of planning strategies as well. I don't know if we have a liaison to that. I'm on it, so maybe I'll be it, but I'm just new there too. But I'll keep you informed on their activities. So you got the dates on the moratorium. You got the details about the committee. You know, one thing I had thought of, I have been pushing so hard for these guidelines for both Riverfront and downtown that I thought, and I'd love to hear your input on this. You can reach out to me or just kind of nod. You know, what about if the guidelines were updated? Would we feel better as commissions passing off that review? You know, considering we had input in how they were done. You know, and I mentioned that early on, and I'll mention it again. I think we're kind of getting down to the deadlines here, but I do wonder, and Jane, if you'd reach out to me and let me know how you feel about that, that would be helpful. Other big things on our radar are planning retreat. So 2 days in February, it'll be the 15th and 16th. And if you have recommendations, priorities, budget requests like UDO and guidelines, please chime in then or by then so we can have them. I assume the chair will kind of wrap that up for you. And I think that is it for now. If you are used to getting some kind of standard update from your city councilor, please do let me know. And I can certainly, you know, tackle a list if there is a running one and then add new things as they come up. But great meeting, y'all. Thanks.
That was great. Thank you so much. And I'll pass it on to Commissioner Sloan. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo that as well. If I'm happy to do an update every time as I have stuff to update folks on. But I guess I just start by saying, you know, if you'd asked me what I thought the most important thing I'd ever do in life or as an elected official, I probably would have said that the new Buncombe County comprehensive plan will be the most important thing I ever do. And that's probably going to get overshadowed by vaccinating 250,000 people. So if you do have questions about the vaccination program or how that's going, don't hesitate to call me, email me, or shoot me a Facebook message. That aside, we did send out the county comprehensive plan RFP yesterday. And so the second step in that process will be putting together another committee. That's what we talk about, isn't it? A task force, probably 14-member task force for the Buncombe County, a steering committee, I think is what we're calling it, a steering committee for the new county comprehensive plan to really talk about, you know, the growth we've seen as an entire community, and trying to get people feeling better about a balance of development and get an understanding of, you know, where we want this community to go and grow, and where and how we build things, and how we want our economy to expand from here as well. So if you're interested in that task force, we really need a diverse array of expertise and backgrounds and regions from the county. So again, like I said, shoot me a Facebook, email, or phone call about that. I think that's all I wanted to say about the county comprehensive plan. And hell, let's talk another committee, the planning board, the Buncombe County Planning Board. We have 3 vacancies on that as well. So we need to appoint 1 person from the city limits of Asheville, I think at a minimum at the moment, to the Buncombe County Planning Board. We're accepting applications for that through the end of next month. So yeah, if you're interested or know anyone interested in serving on yet another board, don't hesitate to reach out to me. But this is exciting. I'm glad to be here. Great to meet you all. Zoom is really terrible, but it's not so bad when you get to meet people that you haven't seen in a long time, or have never met before at all. So great to be here.
Thank you. We're really happy to have you and Councilwoman Turner as our new liaisons. Steph, let's move to the public. Go ahead.
I just wanted to share one thing that Parker and I campaigned a little bit together, because I don't know if y'all realize this, but y'all now have a city planner on city council and a city planner on county commission, and I'm not sure that's ever happened. And that's Parker and I. So it's kind of great. We're thrilled to be here.
Well, thank you. Steph, was there any public comment?
No public comment received.
Okay. All right. I know, Tim Shaw, you usually like to make a motion to adjourn. Would you like the honor, sir?
I will make that motion to adjourn, and thank you.
Thank
And
you.
nice to see you all.
All right. It's 5:29 and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jared.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.